Hey guys, brand new podcast. Just sitting in my man cave, minding my own business. Not really sure if I'm going to do a sketch this weekend. Wait, who's that walking out to the man cave? Why, it's my good friend Tom Segura. Let me let him in. Hey Tommy, come on in. How you doing, buddy? What's on your mind?
I'm sorry that I'm fat. I just realized how fat I was. It's ridiculous. Sometimes I just look in the mirror and I'm like, fuck.
I think we all have those moments, Tom. I think this whole fat shaming campaign has really shined a light on how I can sometimes live unhealthy too and let myself go. But thank God we did it, because I'm feeling good, man. I'm down 25 pounds. Here, let me show me. Take my shirt off real quick.
Look at you.
Yeah. The thing that is, it's not so much about working out. For me, it's diet. And that's where I go off the rails, is on the road. So I'm kind of eating lean proteins and mostly greens and just drinking vodka sodas. What about you? How you been eating?
I did go out to eat. Eat another fat person.
You ate a human being? Tom, not only is that illegal to murder someone, but it's got to be tough on you. I mean, just simply digesting toenails and teeth.
I feel horrible about my digestive system.
Of course, man. I mean, you had to process their hair. How did you eat all that hair? Oh my God. What was the next day like?
I had catastrophic diarrhea.
Well, that's to be expected, buddy. Listen, you got to stop this behavior right now. Here's what you need to do. You need to change your diet, and you need to get back on the horse. You need to start working out again, and for God's sakes, do cardio. You can't let cardio intimidate you. What are you doing right now for cardio?
I watch TV.
You got to do more than just watch TV, Tom. I mean, look at me. I'm running 5 miles a day.
You win.
Don't give up, Tom. This is a contest that we can both win. All we got to do is get out of obesity and just into regular overweight, and Ari has to take us to Paris, France to go to that soccer game. Can you imagine how much fun Paris, France is going to be?
I wonder what their croissants taste like.
Oh, their croissants are going to be fantastic. And you can have as many as you want, because the weight loss bet will be over. Where are you going to put those croissants, Tommy?
My stupid fat mouth.
Put as many as you want in your stupid fat mouth, my friend. Okay, sit down. I got to start my podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, real quick, dates coming up this month. This weekend, the 15th, 16th, and 17th, I'm at the Fort Lauderdale Improv in Fort Lauderdale, out at the Hard Rock Casino. Levity Live the 29th through the 31st in Oxnard, California, and we are starting January off intensely. I'm going to be in New Jersey at the Stress Factory the 5th, 6th, and 7th, American Comedy Company the 12th, 13th, and 14th in San Diego, and on the 21st, I will be in Boston at the Wilbur Theater. Get your tickets. Helium Buffalo, Comedy Off Broadway, Parlor Live in Bellevue, and that brings us to February 14th practically, where me, Ari, and Tom are going to Paris, and we are going to find out who's doing this, going to pay for this fucking bet that has changed my life. I feel so good. I'm about to get on the treadmill. Today's podcast. This is a good one. Especially if you're a podcast fan like myself, you're going to really, really love this. This guy not only has a great podcast, it's been around, I think, 9 years. It's called Comedy Film Nerds, but he has a movie. It's called Earbuds. I am in it, and it is all about podcasting, and you can get it off his website. He tells you in the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Graham Elwood. All right, Tom, come on. Let's hop up on the treadmill, okay? Here we go. Okay, Tom. Whoa, you're walking really heavy, buddy. You're gonna... Oh, my God. Tom. Oh.
This is Bertcast.
Do you think we could just start dropping ads in and explain to your fans, hey guys?
I don't know. We're talking to him right now.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would be upset that I advertised.
Because, dude, that's money. That's money that keeps you off. You could not be on the road as much.
I like being on the road, though. I mean, here's the thing. I would love to take one more week off a year, a month, maybe. Right now, I'm doing 3 weeks a month, which it can be aggressive at times, but I really love it. Like I was out of stand-up No, I wasn't out of stand-up. I think I always thought I was still in stand-up. But to my friends, they were like, no, you were out of stand-up. Like, Tom and Bill and Joe were all like, yeah, you were not working the way you should have when I was doing the travel stuff.
Right.
And now I was like, now that I'm on the road as much as I am, I'm like, oh, yeah, I was not writing at all. Like, I was just coasting by and just getting checks to go in and do an hour that I knew I could do. It was really cheating myself. I was writing this weekend. I had some of the best writing sets I've ever had this weekend. But yeah, I'd like to start advertising. So if you're an advertiser and I don't even know how it works. That's how far out removed I am. Like someone's like, "Oh, you should go to some place." I was like, "Well, I don't want to leave my network. I like All Things Comedy."
Well, there's way like so Comedy Film Nerds is with All Things Comedy.
Yeah.
And we get some ads through them.
I get some ads through them, but I want I want like an ad person the way so I'm doing it all the time.
Yeah, we have a guy that goes and gets ads for us too. And he tracks down companies. Basically, he's a guy that listens to a lot of podcasts himself. So he'll be like, "Oh, I heard this company on a bunch of shows. They'd love to."
Yeah. Well, Tito's Vodka sent me a bunch of stuff, but they're not going to sponsor
But the numbers you're doing, you could be doing enough to take yourself off.
That's single downloads. That's for single person. When I do two people and we drink, they're through the fucking roof.
Really?
Through the fucking roof. Like double that for first week downloads. I don't count anything after first week. I look at it, but I look for what it's going to do the first week because that's when everyone's going to hear it.
Right.
But yeah, I did one with Bill Burr and Tom Segura, and we just drank at the end, but we smoked cigars. That was a very high-rated podcast. And I did one with Ari Shaffir and Steve Renazizi. What I also started doing was changing my intros so that people would want to listen to them. So now I do sketches.
That's awesome.
They're so bad. They're so bad. It's just me listening to a sound effect like New York City traffic or a horse running down the street and doing both the voices. Just like it sounds so silly. I have so much fun doing it. I don't even really write it. I just improv it.
Right.
Till I get to how I introduce. I don't know how I'll do this one. But I try to make it so that I just do my tour dates and that way if I do have ads, to have these characters read them would be so much. I think people would listen to them.
Right.
I want people to listen to the beginning of my podcast, the first 6 minutes. But I'm involved with a company. Have you heard about Laughable?
Yes.
Fucking love them.
Really?
I just started using their app. I just started working with them. Me, Ari, and Fitzsimmons are all working with them. I love their app because,
they contacted us.
Yeah.
And they were wanting us to do some stuff. We were thinking about it because we just were max for anything. And then the guy was saw Earbuds and was like, all right, we really got to do something together. And
I love that movie, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
I love that movie. But you know what I realized in that movie? First of all, I want to know more about Schmidt. Is it Schmidt?
Mike Schmidt.
Yeah, Mike Schmidt. I knew he was with Jimmy Pardo, right?
He was a guest. And when Never Not Funny first started, it was him and Pardo.
Yeah.
And then they did that for about a year or so, and then it didn't work out between them, and then Mike started his own show, and Matt Belknap kind of became the co-host of Never Not Funny.
I ran into Matt Belknap one time at a show, and I heard him talk, and I went, oh, my God.
Yeah.
It was so fucking creepy. That's the so for those of you that don't know, Earbuds is a documentary you started making probably
2.5 years ago.
Was it 2.5 years ago?
Almost 3. We did the crowdfunding. We shot footage at the 2013 Podfest to use for the Kickstarter video. The Kickstarter campaign ran in February of 14, and then it funded, which was it's awesome, but it's also the most stressful thing you could do. Yeah. We raised $140,000.
Holy shit.
We were 60, 70 grand short 4 days out. And I was like, oh, it's done. It's not happening.
Yeah.
We hit it with 30 minutes to go.
That's when those things fun though.
I know.
That's do you know Zane Lamprey at all?
I know the name.
Zane's funded multi-million-dollar.
Oh no, I did talk to him because he was the guy who gave us this pep talk in the middle of our campaign. We were like, oh, this ain't going to happen. He goes, no. We were like 200 grand short or some crazy number like that and funded with 3 days. And we were like, what?
Yeah.
And it's true. It happens. And the big donors, the $5,000 and $10,000 donors started dropping in the last 20 hours.
Dude, I'm thinking about, you ready for this? I'm thinking about, not to change subjects, although that's all I seem to do these days, is I'm thinking about crowdfunding a theater date in Detroit.
You absolutely should.
Like going, because I'd like to do Detroit. Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle doesn't need, like, he sells out every ticket, any show anyway, so he doesn't need to overpay me because he's already going to get the ticket sales. And I was like, it might be an easy way, a surefire way to know you've sold the thing. And then you ready for this? I'm thinking about like $25 tickets for the theater. Do like 600-seater maybe. And then for an extra $100 or maybe like $50. I haven't come up with a price point. Throwing a breakfast party for everyone who wants to come and have breakfast with me.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, like at my hotel, I'll cater it. I'll fucking fill it up with booze. We get there. It's early, so you get early morning drinking, and then I catch a flight out that night. I'm like, fuck yeah! Have like get like a chef to come in and really like nice bacon and fucking like eggs Benedict.
Dude, that's the great thing with crowdfunding. Whatever the fuck you want to do.
Yeah.
I want to have a breakfast fucking booze party after my do it.
Yeah.
Like we did this thing. So Chris Mancini, my co-host, crowdfunded a graphic novel, right?
Yeah.
He had an old screenplay lying around, and he was like, I want to make this into a graphic novel. So we crowdfunded. One of the levels was, so Comedy Filmers, we do regular episodes where we talk about a bunch of movies, and then we'll do like a spoiler ep. Like we did one for Doctor Strange. We'll do one for Rogue One, where all we do is talk about the movie. We call it a spoiler ep because we talk about the ending and we warn people ahead of time. Like, yeah. So it's a thing that fans dig. And we said for $1,000, you get to pick the movie. We go out to dinner. We do, you get to pick the film, and then we'll record a spoiler rep about whatever movie you want to talk about, and you're in it, and it's your episode.
Oh, shut up.
It was awesome. We sold like 3 or 4 of them. And
wow.
Fans were just like, yeah, I'm in. I just want to sit and talk movies with you guys. And it's like, who would have, like, we had a fan last year. We just jokingly said, oh, man, we want to go see Star Wars: A Force Awakens because it came out, they released it in Australia 36 hours ahead of the States. And we just made a joke like, we want to go see it first. So if anyone's got $5,000, haha, send it to us. A fan did. And we went to Australia to watch Star Wars.
Are you shitting me?
No. We flew there, 17-hour flight, got there, crashed for a couple hours. It was a midnight screening. Because first of all, their movies release on Thursday. Ours release on Friday.
Oh.
So it was technically Wednesday night, 12:01 a.m. Thursday or whatever.
Oh, shut up.
Dude, we got there. We got interviewed by this local TV station. It's like, who are these crazy Americans flying?
Did you try to plug in any comedy while you were over there?
It was such a last-minute thing. I think I did a set or something, but it wasn't even like we could put together a tour. It was just this guy did it in like 2 weeks out, and we were like, okay, I guess we're going to...
so fucking awesome.
Dude, and we assumed he lived in Australia. Nope, just lived in Iowa and wanted to... Because here's what we did. We went to a midnight screening and then went to a bar next door and recorded a spoiler ep about the movie we just saw and released a movie to people in the...
Shut up! So it's not even fucking... God, I love this world.
Right?
God, I love this world.
And this guy was like, I just want to hear you talking about it before I can see it.
Shut up.
And we partnered with this guy, Steele Saunders, that does this podcast, Steel Wars. It's all Star Wars.
Yeah.
He's an Australian dude. He set up the screening. It was like the coolest.
That's fucking insane.
Right? That's why when you're like, I want to do a breakfast show in Detroit. Yeah, of course you should.
Yeah, I actually talked to Kickstarter. They came into my man cave to pitch it to me, and I said, "There's 2 things I want to do. I want to do a cruise, and I want to do Detroit. I just know I have a lot of listeners in Detroit, and so everyone was like, they're like, do it. So I got to do it. That's the other fucking problem with this business. It's so cool how things have changed. I would love an assistant, and I know I say that all the time, and everyone hears that, and they're like, I'm your guy. Okay, here's the caveat: you got to live in fucking LA.
Yeah.
I know. I can't roll the dice on you changing your life and moving to LA to fucking for something that may or may not work out. They're like, I'll be your red band, and I swear to God, all I love doing is smoking pot and driving fast cars. You're like, But
I need you to be focused if you're going to be
I'd love a fucking assistant because I do everything myself.
Yeah.
I post this, I edit this,
We started to get like interns and stuff for Comedy Filmers just because we were like, we could barely.
But you have another guy you do it with, so you guys can
split up the duties.
Yeah, but also that would be easier if I had a partner and I was like, we should get an intern. Then that makes sense. But me it's almost like it seems weird, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like for a second I had this guy who was really great, really fucking focused. But I kind of dropped the ball and I didn't follow up with him, and I'm a big flake too. I like to drink. That's my big problem. Is I like to go on the road and like get off the fucking grid and like just have drink and no one can get a hold of me, and I'm like just doing dates, and I love that shit.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, I love that movie. I sadly I didn't catch the last quarter of it because I was watching it in Tampa last weekend, I guess. And I went to go watch it again, the rest of it this weekend, and the password you gave me.
I'll give it you a new one.
Yeah, but it's fucking awesome because one of my favorite things about it is I am more than anything a podcasting fan. Mm-hmm. So like I was watching it as a fan, right. And then I saw me in it, and I went, "Oh shit, that's right, I was in this."
Well, I was thinking about this driving over here. How you're in it and what you say and everything is such the beauty of podcasting. So like we had raised the money, and I called Brian Redband and I said, "Hey, I just want to like have me on one of your Ice House Chronicles." Yeah. And we'll just come in, we'll shoot an interview with you beforehand, and we'll just kind of show that world and the podcast community is very much about everybody support, you know? And you just show up and just start talking on camera, and you know, Steve Agee just pops in and we interview him. Yeah. Rogan's there and he's willing to talk to us, which was awesome. But then you say something, the thing I loved about directing the movie was I obviously learned a lot of great things from fans and what this means to them to listen to this. But I learned so much from other comedian and podcasters. Like you made such a great point, and it's why I put in the movie. You go, oh, it changed the dialogue between comedians and fans.
100%.
You know, you said that and I was like, so many times when I was interviewing people, a comic like you would say something, I go, yeah, that's right. You know, and I do this. And I learned a lot about how cool it is. And it reaffirmed so much stuff for me. You know, like Todd Glass says, you know, the audience that shows up, your podcast audience, they're perfect. He made such a good point. He goes, you know, comedians or podcasters are like, oh, my fans are idiots. He goes, that's your fault. You created that. Yeah. You know, like we get to cultivate who our fans are. It's not like a TV show where I have to play this character on the TV show and it attracts a certain type of fan. And so these are my fans. We get to sit here and talk and be, we're not doing characters. We're not doing bits. Yeah. And we get to, we get to cultivate our fan base our way.
That's really interesting. I don't think I ever saw it that way. Now that you say that, I would say fans. I think I have basically trickle down fans. It's like people who love. I think my fans are people who love Rogan. Sure. People who love, they're fans of podcasts. Yeah. And I think that's where they connect with me is they know I'm a fan of podcasts. I remember I was in Scotland one week doing TV, and I just put it out on Twitter. I was like, if anyone wants to have a beer with me in Scotland, hit me up. And these three guys took a train in, and we sat down and had a beer in between while I was shooting. I just bounced because they were doing B-roll. I went and had a beer with these three guys, and it was so crazy. They were like, hey, did you listen to Rogan this week? And I said, no, who's on it? And he's like, Bobcat. I was like, shut the fuck up. And I was like, wait, and we talked about Rogan's pod. We didn't talk. Right. They weren't fanning out on me. We were just talking about a podcast we had all listened to. I do that. I mean, if I had a nickel for every time I had a fan go, let me see your top podcasts. And I pull up my phone and I go, here's what I subscribe to. And I flip to it, and then they do that. And they're like, ooh, I've never heard that. And then they download it. Like some guy this weekend showed me there's a podcast all about Westworld. I think it's called The Bald Man or something. I don't know. I have my phone, but I downloaded it and I was like, I'll be listening to that on the flight home. I listened to podcasts on the flight home last night. But I run into people. It's so funny. I ran into a guy flying to Japan, and he had a Death Squad shirt on. And he looked at me and was like, holy shit, man, the Machine. And I go, yeah. And he goes, you're wearing a fucking Rogan shirt? And I was like, oh shit, I am. Like, it's like, I think that's the cool thing. Who do you think who was the first podcast you started listening to where you were like,
God, I've always just sort of, I've always cherry picked based on guest or topic.
yeah.
So I've never been like, oh, I listened to this one religiously. I've always been like, oh, I want to hear what that guy says.
Patton, if he pops up on anything.
Yeah,
I'm
or
always
like,
fucking in.
Or like Marin, oh, I want to hear Robin Williams. Or, oh, I got to listen to Obama talk. Or,
That's the Obama one's probably the most downloaded podcast in history, I'd guess.
It's up there.
I would love to see stats on that.
It's great. I mean, that's and since you missed that's in the movie too, is we have the audio from that, and we got photos from the White House of Obama and Marin in his garage.
Yeah.
That was one of the coolest things for me. It's so funny, like because of doing the movie and co-producer in Los Angeles Podcast Festival, I'm so much on like the production end of it that like the film helped me kind of go back to being a fan a little bit because with LA Podfest, I have to sort of listen to 10-minute clips of a bunch of shows to find new podcasts to bring into the festival. And so, but like, I remember listening to the Marin Obama interview and I was like, yeah, this is what all those fans in the film talked about. I feel like I was hanging out with the president.
Yeah.
I felt like he was just having coffee with a buddy and I got to go, wow. Because it wasn't slicked up. I mean, he's the president. He knows his talking points, and obviously, like there was a meeting about what he's supposed to talk about.
He dropped an N-bomb. Didn't
Yeah,
he?
I know it was nuts. And he just, but it was
he dropped an N-bomb like he was Joey Diaz.
I know, it was fucking crazy. It was like there's the president, and it was like, it was so like, I so get the personal connection of it.
Yeah.
Like people we're in their ears right now. It's not like TV is it literally at a distance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Movies that I love going to the movies. But it's a bigger thing. It's a show. It's lit and sound and all this stuff. This is just like you're having this personal conversation and people are here participate. Like I always think about that Obama thing made me think about like, God, I wish I had a time machine. Or, when I die, I want to just sit and talk to like Miles Davis and Winston Churchill or something like that, and like, this podcast was like, holy shit, name one sitting president that did an interview like that.
Nothing. Never.
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 Sadly, I think we'll all be able to get Trump on our podcasts. I think he's going to be. I think I can totally see him do it. I wouldn't be shocked if he started his own podcast.
Yeah.
I love that he tweets. It makes me. It is. His presidency has brought me so much joy. I have never been happier at just like when he was like Saturday Night Live, not funny, overrated. You're just like, who the fuck do you think you are?
I know.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
He's like a 15-year-old boy.
I love him. I'm going to be so sad when they assassinate him. I've been telling that joke on stage in the middle of this country, and it's not been getting laughs.
Weird. That's weird.
But yeah, the podcasting for me, I think was, I mean, I've said this ad nauseum, but the first time I met Joe, I listened to his podcast so much that when I went to his door, he opened his door, and he was like, what's up? I was like, hey, man, I'm going to need to see your dog. I'm going to need to see your deprivation tank, need to see your pool table, and then get high, and I'll be ready to do this. And I was like, I've been listening to way too much of this podcast. And he was like, and Joe is so caught off guard. He's like, okay. And so he went and showed me his dogs, showed me the deprivation tank. We got high. We did the podcast, and I was like, and then I remember driving home. I was like, that's probably not the best way to meet Joe. I probably should have been cooler. But I was so fucking. I'm still a massive fan of his podcast.
Right. It's such a. I mean, he's like such a great example, right? So he's, he came up in very much traditional he came from traditional media, news radio and doing stuff like that and what was that NBC show, the Fear Factor,
Man Show,
Man Show, all that stuff, and UFC. And then his podcast, obviously, like you say, it has some trickle down, it has some crossover, but it's such its own animal, and he can do whatever. Like, it's so cool. I love seeing people in that, like Aisha or somebody that has all this traditional media, but they're doing the podcast out of the purity of it and the love of it. You know, he doesn't need the money from his ad sales for his podcast. He's doing it because he wants to have that forum to just say whatever the fuck he wants to talk about.
He's doing it. You know, Chris Rock, before he did his first the bigger and blacker, the big special, the one that everyone liked. I think it's Cornel West is the black guy with the afro and the glasses and sometimes a scarf or the ascot.
Yeah.
Cornel West. By the way, I don't know if this is true. This is maybe what I kind of heard, but whatever part I glommed onto, this is what it was. Right before Chris Rock started doing that special, Cornel West said, "Hey man, you're a young black man in this business. I think you should be hanging out with the greatest minds of the world. And we do a Sunday night dinner where they come over to my house and we just talk politics and we talk about life and we talk about everything. You should come to these." So Chris Rock started going to, I think it was Cornel West's house, where he would have these Sunday night conversations and everyone would talk about smart shit. And Chris Rock was like, it was like going to college.
Yeah.
It was like, I learned so much. And I remember being so jealous of that. And then when Joe started doing it the way he's doing it now, like, I loved his podcast at the beginning when it's just comics and Eddie Bravo and fucking Tate. And he still has that as a definite part of his podcast. But him bringing in people like
scientists,
fucking, dude, I have gotten so much smarter just listening to his fucking podcast. Adversely, I think people get dumber listening to mine. But he had a guy. I'm going to say this guy's name because this podcast was so fucking great. My eyes are going on me. I think I'm getting old.
Oh, dude. I'm fighting the reading glasses fight.
Oh, I got readers. Like, I got readers so I could read things. Dude, his podcast with Kevin Smith the other day was fucking amazing. Holy shit. John Jones is an amazing podcast. Steve Rinella is always great.
Wow.
Jordan Peterson. Did you listen to it?
No.
This guy is fucking fascinating. He is what you'd want, like, he's fighting political correctness and social justice warriors. But he's not fighting it like from an ignorant standpoint. He's fighting the absurdity of it. And it was, I've listened to that podcast probably 3 times. And it's a 3-hour podcast. This guy is so fucking smart. And Joe possibly, I mean, if they're going to give a potty to anyone, Joe would get the best interview I've ever heard him do. It was so...
How so? Like... Just in the questions he was asking? And
Joe was being fair and representing other sides and just making it really... I was sitting there going, this is one of the greatest conversations I've ever got to listen to. And that's what it was. It was just listening to a conversation of 2 very intelligent men talk about the what is happening in this country and in Canada with... it was fucking... amazing.
And so Joe wasn't agreeing with him all the way, but was like not. It wasn't a fighty argue, nor was he giving him a free pass.
And he wasn't giving him a free pass. He wasn't disagreeing with him. He was just asking him questions, and the guy was answering them and telling them things. And then Joe would be lighthearted as a comedian should in like great fucking moments. Apparently, there was a guy who's transgender who argued with this guy that there's no scientific difference between men and women. And Joe lost it. And I was like, wait, you can't fucking make that statement? And Joe's like, this guy's going through a sex change. Like, there's no... It was just a really great fucking interview. I mean, that's what I really could have done. I could have had your movie, like, as I was watching it, I ended up having to go to the Tampa Improv to do a show, and I was like, I'll pause it, I'll start it up again. In my head, I was like, oh, this is just like a great podcast. I don't want it to fucking end. I didn't want your movie to end. I wanted it to be a TV series. I'm being dead serious. I was like, they need to turn this into a TV series. Every week, profile a different podcast. I'd be fucking... There's so many great podcasts that I'd love to know more about. I'd love to get backstory about.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Never Not Funny is one of the ones where you're like, that's one of the OGs in this game.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
Well, that was the thing, and it's so great to hear you say that, because when we were editing it, we were like, let's make this documentary like a podcast where Chris and I would come in. There's voiceover, but not in the way like you would have narration in a documentary, but way a podcast would be.
Yeah.
And, we shot so much footage. We sell an hour of bonus coverage on the site, but we're going to keep releasing because there was whole interviews that like we couldn't use that are fascinating, that are just fantastic. And it's like, I would love to do what you said of like, I haven't thought of that about making it a TV show where like This Week in Podcasting or something. Because I learned,
dude, you're hitting something right, nail on the head right now. I would watch every fucking week. If you had a show, much like fucking NFL Tonight or
Right.
Sports Center or anything that covers anything, where you talk about what's good in podcasting that week, profile a new podcast, do a fucking biography of an old podcast, and then highlight great podcasting moments, because that's my shit. I'm into that shit.
Right.
I was just thinking, oh man, I just lost my train of thought. But like when Jimmy Pardo's brother-in-law went missing.
Yeah, Daniel.
Like,
Or,
dude,
yeah.
that was lived out on the podcast. I think I remember crying on that podcast because Jimmy starts crying, and then I'm crying.
Andrew, I'm sorry, not Daniel. Andrew Koenig.
So yeah, Andrew Koenig is Jimmy's brother-in-law. He was also Boner from Growing Pains, which, that's
He's also the son of Chekhov, Walter Koenig, who played Chekhov on Star Trek. So it's like, it was such an intense thing when that happened, and one of the reasons I wanted to ask Jimmy about it, and I was very like, all these interviews I went in and said, look, if you don't want to talk about this, I don't. Or even after the interview, if you want me to cut it, I will. And I said, I before the interview, I wasn't going to sandbag him. I've known Jimmy for 20 some years. I said, I'd like to have you tell the story about what that going through when Andrew went missing and how the fans responded.
Dude, that you want to talk about, pulling fans together.
It was in the midst of it was a tragedy. It was awful. He went missing, and then he took his life. He was battling with depression, but the podcasting community rallied when they were looking for him. And it was just like the fact that the podcast community would do that. They did it as though it was just like, it'd be like as though your high school, like all your high school friends, like, hey, this guy's missing, and everyone from your high school rallied together, and there was a phone tree, it was that kind of thing. But it was literally all over. It was in the midst of this. It's such conflicting emotions because it's tragic that he decided to take his own life, and that's one of the things the movie touches upon is mental illness. And when we went into I knew I was going to interview Jimmy, and he was going to talk about that. I knew I was going to interview Paul Gilmartin that does Mental Illness Happy Hour.
Yeah, I love that. Paul Gilmartin.
Paul
great. Gilmartin is
he's doing work. He's doing noble work. He's like he goes, oh, I found, he was thinking about what podcast to do. I remember talking to him about it. I said, Gilly, I've known him for a million years. I call him Gilly. I was like, Gilly, it's a shit ton of work, but it's the most empowering thing you're ever going to do in show business.
Yeah. You
have complete control over it. And that's another great example of what should my podcast be about? Whatever you want. You want to talk about mental illness? You get to do that. You want to interview like Joe Rogan does, one week a UFC fighter, the next week a guy that's has this heavy social commentary stance or whatever you want to call it. It's fantastic. And so, but when we were doing Earbuds, did a lot of fan interviews. We'd set up like Come By the Improv and Come By Nerd Melt, and then we did Zanies in Chicago and a couple other places in Australia. And we announced on our podcast, we'll be here, Saturday from 12 to 5. Come by, we'll do a 10-minute interview. And that's when we started to realize we need to spend a lot more time on the mental illness aspect because so many people came in off the street.
Dude, this is now that I realize in the middle of this is kind of a meta podcast because we're talking about if you're listening to podcasts, you love podcasts. So if you're listening to this, you love what we're talking. It's like almost like but that it really is crazy that how many people come to this medium for sanity.
It was, this girl that walked in off the street, Allison, in Sydney, Australia, and she's featured in the film, and she just talked about she's like, Graham, I was in an abusive marriage. He was physically and mentally abusive, and I had to deal with PTSD. And she's like, I know you've had to deal with that because I've talked about it on my show. And at first I was like, wait, but how do you? And then I was like, oh yeah, because I had some stuff from childhood, but also I did a bunch of USO tours, and a couple of one of them we came under fire and almost got blown out of the sky. So loud noises and helicopters freaked me out. I was in Afghanistan and we were in a firefight in a Black Hawk helicopter. Yeah. So I've talked about that on my podcast. And so she was like, but it was cool because Hyatt opened up on our podcast, she felt comfortable coming and doing an interview on camera. Yeah. These are people who aren't performers. They're not, you and I can just, okay, camera interview, bing, bang. They're nervous. They walk in, they see the big lights and the camera and they get, But she was comfortable enough to open up with us, and her storyline is in the film, and it's like, it was such a privilege and an honor and a big responsibility. I felt that on like a responsibility, like we got to handle this the right way, because you go back to Joe Rogan, he even I think one of his posted tweets is like, we have a mental illness problem disguised as a gun problem. And he's addressing it. And this country, we haven't dealt with the fact that there's a huge mental illness problem in this country. We just don't. And it's good that we need to have these conversations. Every time there's a mass shooting, 9 out of 10 times it's someone that suffered from some type of mental illness that wasn't treated. Yeah. And so it was really cool to go through all that with the film, and a documentary is you learn so much, like all these people sharing all this stuff, and how a podcast, this woman was like, I couldn't function because my husband was so abusive and I got out of that relationship and I needed podcasts to help rebuild who I was. And you're sitting here going, you mean when Chris and I just fucking get pissed off about a shitty movie like that, just sitting in this man cave, dicking around, talking about the road, like really that helps, that matters. And well, it does.
I know it does for me. One of my go-to things is, podcasts for me are like a little bit like a warm blanket. When I get home when I'm on the road and I'm in a hotel room, I just throw on a podcast and I can let it play. And because I get anxiety, and so sometimes if I'm in my fucking hotel room by myself, I can't turn it off. Like I can't fucking calm down. It's part of the reason I drink on the road. Like I don't think I've had a legit sober night sleep on the road, like unassisted, possibly ever. Wow. Like because I get into a hotel room and my brain starts to go crazy. And when I was on the road with Travel Channel, I was doing fucking 3 bucket list adventures a day. So I would swim with great white sharks, jump off the stadium and rappel off Table Mountain, and then get back to my room after a couple of vodka sodas and still be like fucking wired. But I would throw on anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, so much shit. I love Dan Carlin's Hardcore History.
Oh yeah.
That thing. That's like, I turn that on and I get excited. This is going to sound weird, but you know how like when a hurricane's coming in and
so you have to get bottled water and canned food? Is that what you want?
No. I get excited when hurricane coverage is on the TV, or big storm coverage. I go into my room and I get excited like a warm blanket and I go, oh, good, the hurricane. I don't know why. It's like grounding or something, but I get excited like that.
You Florida people are out of your goddamn minds.
It's that. I don't know, man. When they have a hurricane coverage, I just sit by the TV all fucking day and it makes me so happy. But like I said on a podcast one time, I said, I don't know who the fuck I was talking to. Oh, I was talking to Danish and O'Neill. And I said the first wet dream I ever had, I was riding a horse. And so this weekend, I'm doing this new bit called Secret Time. In the middle of my show, because sometimes I'll think of secrets. I'll think of things that aren't funny but are interesting. And so I go, "Ooh, you guys want to hear a secret? Let's do Secret Time." And then I said, the first time I ever had a wet dream, I was riding a horse. Dudes were losing their fucking mind because they had heard me say it on a podcast. And it was almost like, it wasn't a laughter. They were getting up out of their chair going, fuck, I heard you. Yes, this is true. This is it was like, it's so weird. People, people will come to me and go, because my kids will come in and out of the podcast all the time.
Right.
And I talk very openly about Isla, and she's like my weirder of the two kids. And they're like, yeah. I'll go on stage, and they'll be like, tell the Isla story. Tell Georgia Midget. Tell the Isla story with the toothbrush. And you're like, huh? How did you fucking know that? And they're like, you said it on your podcast. I'm like, holy shit. Like, I had a joke that happened on the podcast that got it into my special about our safe word. But, like, it's really crazy how the dialogue has changed between – I mean, I don't think I sold a ticket. I don't think I sold one ticket this week to someone who hadn't heard me on my podcast.
Really?
I don't think I sold one. I mean, this weekend got a little fucking out of control. I performed with my shirt off, so then I told everyone they said, hey, guys, $3 drinks upstairs if you're shirtless. So everyone ended up shirtless upstairs. But it was, and so I do these big like meet and greets after the shows, and it was all podcast fans. It was all guys like going.
The podcast fans, like I did a tour through China a couple years ago, and basically there's like one full-time comedy club in Shanghai, and it's like a 120-seat room. So everything else is just like a bar gig, and it's mostly like American and English and Australian expats. But, like, I did this show in Guangzhou, China, and people are coming up going, I like Comedy Film Nerds. I listen. People would show up. They bought we have a book, Comedy Film Nerd Guide to Movies, and they like, I bought this online, and I need you to sign it. I'm, like, in the middle of China, and it's like, it's crazy. I don't have as big of a fan base as you, so I can't, like, pack a place, but there's always a handful of people who are like, he drove 3 hours to come see you, and I'm like, what? It's the coolest thing, and when it is packed full, when we have done like Comedy Film Nerds Live, and we pack it out, it's the greatest show. Like we've done live shows where we just made fun of trailers. We just show trailers of movies coming up. Yeah, we pick like 6 or 7 of them. We'll pick like 1 or 2 that are like cool, something that everyone's like excited for, and everything else we try to find the dumbest, and it's a blast.
Yeah.
Where else could you do that? You couldn't just show up and do that in a comedy club without a following.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You couldn't just like come in and do the horse, wet dream bit and shirts. You know what I mean? People would be like, yeah, maybe, but like.
So how much has your podcast changed from the first iteration of it and to where you guys are now? Are you doing pretty much the same thing?
Well, we started in December of 2009.
Okay. I'm trying to think. When did I start mine? No, I haven't been going that long. That's 8 years.
Yeah, coming up. 7, 8, yeah.
7,
yeah.
My math is, I'm not really
7.
7 years. 7 years. That's a fucking long time. What episode are you on?
350-something. And then we've done another 50-some spoiler apps. So we've done over 400 episodes. Fuck. And that's once a week. It started just... hey, let's talk about movies, and we didn't even have guests, and then we started bringing on guests, and then it's sort of the format within the first 6 months or so to a year kind of became, now it's sort of, that's our format, where we, top of the show, we sort of, what's going on, or if I'm not on the road as much anymore, but when I was, I would, hey, thanks everyone for coming out to this show, and then we talk about, because we record on Tuesday, we record and release on Tuesday, we don't do a lot of editing. So the reason for that is we talk about movies that just came out the weekend prior.
Oh, wow.
So
what are you guys talking about this week?
This week we'll be talking about...
we got to talk about the new Star Wars, right?
Well, that comes out next week. So we're doing
that comes out next week?
Yeah, Rogue One comes out the 16th.
Did you get... I heard it's fucking amazing.
Oh, I can't wait.
We're
going to do 2 episodes about it. Like, I can't... The thing why I think it's going to be great, and this is what I'm getting from the trailers... So... A Force Awakens, which was fun, it was great, but there were certain things they had to do. We got to have Chewie and Han and C3. We got to bring the gang back, and we got to hit these points. Yeah. Rogue One feels like, let's just do something awesome in the Star Wars universe. Let's just blow it out. We have no constraints.
Yeah,
it looks fantastic to me.
I can't wait.
My kids are
going to want to see it.
Oh, dude, I'm going to see it 2 or 3 times. I mean, it's like there's no 2 ways about it, and I think. So then our format is pretty much, we talk about movies that just came out, then we focus on the guest, like if the guest is really into Westerns or they just made a movie, like whatever they want to talk about, and then we kind of go into, DVDs, and we've started to talk about movie trailers.
I'm obsessed with movie trailers.
They're great.
I'm obsessed with movie trailers. Like, to a point where I think I have a problem with it. Like, I one of my favorite feelings. So, you know the feeling, you ever get done to impress and you're in the elevator at the hotel and you're getting up to your room and then your brain goes, oh shit, I haven't jacked off yet today.
Yeah.
Like that great, like, oh, this is going to be great. And I do that with trailers. I go, oh my God, I haven't looked at Apple trailers in like 2 weeks. Oh, I bet there's a whole new front page.
Yeah.
And I get excited. I did that today. And I was like, there wasn't anything really great on today. I watched the trailer for Fast and Furious, the new one.
Oh, yeah.
That looks really fucking good.
Those movies are blast.
I haven't seen one of those since probably like the second one.
Like they're insane. They're insane. They're great.
It's a number one franchise, I think, ever.
They're insane. The movies, and now they just get bigger and crazier, and they're a blast. I mean, it's just like they do these stunts that are just so awesome. They're like ridiculously awesome that you just like, it's like an amusement park where they're like, now we're going to spin you around backwards, and then you're going to stop and then go the other way. And you're just like, yeah, just do it.
I saw the trailer. I was like, I think I might watch that. I think I'm gonna go see that. And when I'm on the road, just fucking.
Oh, for sure.
I'm the kind of viewer who, if you spend $50 million on a movie, it's not lost on me. Like, I get into it. Like, if the more money you spend, the more I'll like the movie. Like, I'm that fucking guy. I am the perfect window for Hollywood. I'm the same intelligence. I'm not too smart to figure out who Kaiser Soze is, you know? But I'm smart enough to figure out Bruce Willis is a ghost. Like, I'm not. Man, a good trailer. What's the best trailer you've seen recently?
The best trailer I've seen recently is, they keep. I mean, that's hard to say because I watch so many.
I'll tell you the best trailer I've ever seen. The best trailer I've ever seen. Let's Be Cops. Sounds so silly. The movie was not that good, but that trailer it got me. I said, I am fucking seeing this. That trailer was so fucking great because it was just like I got the whole concept really quickly. Hey, let's be cops. I loved it. And I was like, I'm in. I'm in. I'm going to look up. I want to see if Apple trailers, but like I'm trying to think of what trailers are out now. I can't watch scary trailers.
The scary trailers, I mean, the mainstream horror movies are also sort of the same. They have a cheap scare, and then they're also the same pattern. Some of the coolest movies I've seen, all of the Rogue One trailers have been amazing to me, and each one I see is, Rogue One has kind of helped flip me. Normally, when a big movie like that's coming out, like I don't want to see the trailers
because you don't want to.
I don't want to ruin anything, or if I do see a trailer, I only want to see it on the big screen. I don't want to watch it on my phone or laptop. But now they keep releasing cool shit that I get more and more fired up for. So
I'm trying to find Apple trailers. I'm going to tell you which ones I really liked. I can't believe they're doing another Spider-Man.
Oh, that's the day.
Well, Spider-Man's
because Sony owns the rights to it, and there's a clause in there that if they have to keep making movies. If they let it go past a certain amount of time, then they lose the rights to it. That's why they keep banging those out.
Oh, thank you.
ComedyFilmNerds.com.
Thank you very much. The Comedian was a good trailer.
Yes.
I like that trailer. The Fate of the Furious was a good trailer. I'll tell you what was a really, really good trailer. What's that movie where the kids break into the blind guy's house?
Oh, God. What is that? I got to bring this up. Oh, yeah, that was fantastic, man. That was, oh, God, I forget the name of that. That was like...
I'll tell you a dumb fucking trailer. Fist Fight.
Oh.
That looked... I'm like, hey, what fucking movie are we going to make where grown men have to fight each other? You also can just go home and not fight a human. Like, what the fuck? Let's see. Tom Cruise's The Mummy looks good.
Oh, it looks like, I'm like, all right, Tom Cruise, it's like Jack Reacher finds the mummy. I'm in.
Yeah. I was like, fuck yes. Let's see. I haven't seen, I need to catch up. I'm also like, it's so funny. You really cut to the core of me as a person on what I like and dislike and where my phobias are by a trailer. like immediately I become very cynical. I go, fuck that. It's like a real
Right.
emperor, like thumbs up, thumbs down thing where you go, man, this fucking pass.
Right.
Like I saw one trailer. I'm sure it's on here, but it's like the cover of it is two dudes holding each other's heads. Like I was like, pass. I was like immediately the most homophobic guy in the world. No fucking way I'm seeing this shit. Or like this one says Sing. I don't even know what it is. I won't watch it because I'm like, I don't think I like Sing. I don't even know what it is.
Well, so much what is happening too with trailers?
This is a fun game, by the way. Just going through and
Yes.
saying what'll fucking tank. Monster trucks, pass.
because
Smurfs, I'm definitely going to see because my kids will want to see it, and it's all about finding other Smurfs. Anytime like it really cuts also to the fucking answer of like, you know, Scarlett Johansson got shit for playing Asian woman leading role,
right.
and like Matt Damon in the Great Wall of China movie.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest with you. I don't want to sound like a dick, but like if I see a movie and it's called like The Fast Break, and it's Morris Chestnut and Mos Def, and it's like 5 bleeding black dudes, I go, nah, I think that's marketed to black people. I'm gonna pass. Or like Before Christmas, and you see Danny Glover and Medea or whatever, I'm like, that's marketed. That's meant for them. Like I don't watch them. But then if you put like if you appropriate a culture and if you make a movie and it's a leading Asian actress that I've never heard of, and she's on the cover, a lot of times I look at it and I go, oh, I don't want to read subtitles. Like, but if I see Scarlett Johansson there and it's called The Samurai, I go, ooh, what's this? You know? Like, Hollywood's just doing it because that's the way our brains think. That's what you know, how many people watched How to Be a Man? Think Like a Man.
Oh, right.
Not a lot of white people.
Right.
You know, but it's a book. Think Like a Man. We're all men. Why wouldn't I enjoy it? Oh, because it's got 9 black leads. Oh, okay. Oh, and Gary Owen. And I love Gary Owen. I'm not shitting on the movie. I'm just saying that is how they market these movies. You got to put a fucking someone where you go, I'll do that. I'll go to that. Take my money. I want to see that.
I think in certain cases they go, well, like Tyler Perry started making movies for a very underserved section of the marketplace, like middle-aged black women. Yeah. No one was making movies for them, and he went, I will. And so they're just like, great. And he goes, and they weren't going to the movies, and now they are to see his stuff, and it's like, it's awesome. In some cases, though, boy, we talk about it on Comedy Filmers, we call it trailer side. Well, they'll take a good movie, and they'll make a trailer that either makes it look dumb, or they reveal too much of it. You watch the trailer, and you go, oh, I know what's going to happen now. That guy's the criminal.
That just happened in one the other day that I saw where they're like, where I think the guy dies in the trailer.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, I guess we know what happens in this movie.
Well, like that new Jennifer Lawrence, Chris Pratt film, Passengers, looks interesting, and then, so they set the premise. Oh, we woke up on this space station early.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And then you hear this voiceover towards the end of the trailer. It goes, actually, it wasn't a mistake. And you're just like, oh, well,
okay.
Now we know that.
Why is he going off to space?
Yeah.
Why are they locked off? He's on fire? Ooh.
I know.
It does look cool, them swimming in
there
bubbles.
There is cool shit in there. And it's a significant film in the sense that this is one, she got way more money than he did. So leading ladies have always gotten underpaid. This is one of the first times where it's like, no, this is a Jennifer Lawrence movie, and she got some crazy like 23 million, and he got like 10 or something like that.
Whoa!
And it was like,
I didn't know that.
It's a big deal because they're finally going. Well, she has proven through, whatever the Hunger Games movies. And then all these Oscar films that it's like Jennifer Lawrence can open a movie.
I'll go watch her in anything.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I watched her Cold Bones. Was that it?
Oh, Winter Bone.
Winter Bones?
That was her breakout film.
She was fucking amazing.
She was like 17 or 18 or something during that movie.
Chris Pratt, I think he's good. But you're right. I mean, I hope you don't take this as an offense, Chris Pratt, because I know you listen to my podcast. But you could have plugged 8 dudes into that role. 8 dudes.
I know.
20 if we want to pay him more than her.
Right.
But there's only one Jennifer Lawrence.
I know.
And she That girl's badass.
I love Chris Pratt, like Guardians of the Galaxy.
He's great in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Great. Oh, there's a great trailer. That trailer, Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, dude.
Oh, wait. Yes, I have.
Dude.
Wait. Where did I... Is it with little things carrying a bomb or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Dude, it's... Guardians
Sometimes
of
I watch them hammered. And so I can't remember.
But, like... Guardians of the Galaxy is that though now it's I guess we're calling it a franchise since there's 2, but that's where I'd go, well, that's Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
There are some guys that could maybe do that, but he's making it very much his role. But Passengers, you go Jennifer Lawrence in space with some dude.
Adrian Bodie.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that,
I know.
It's so funny is for the first maybe I'll watch trailers over and over again, or I'll go back to the thing and see if they come out with a second trailer. I misunderstood the line where he says we woke up 90 years too early.
Right.
I thought he said 9, and I was like, who gives a fuck?
Just
chill. Hang out. Fuck. Wait till,
it's 2025, whatever, 2016. What's the fucking difference?
Woke up 9 years early. Who gives a shit? So you'll be 30 when they're 20. Okay. Like
that would be awesome if that was the premise. 9 years early. I don't know.
Woke up a day earlier than them. What are we gonna do today?
Yeah.
The
technology is basically the same.
I could just watch trailers all the. Well, sometimes I love when I go on YouTube and I see a new trailer for something I haven't seen, and then I'm like, oh, here we go.
Dude, I have an Apple TV at home. I don't have cable anymore.
Yeah.
So I just go to the trailer button.
And my daughters are the fucking problem. My daughters just bought them a fucking TV, and I said, let's put the direct TV in your room. And they're like, no. I go, what? I'm like, we don't watch that anyway, Dad. If we want, we'll just come to the living room and watch it. I said, what do you want? And they went, just have them hook up the Wii, and we'll just watch things off Amazon and fucking whatever that other one is.
Netflix.
Like Fantastic Beasts was a good trailer. Kong Skull Island is a good trailer.
That one looks awesome.
Fuck, that looks good.
That one looks great. I'm excited for that because the Peter Jackson Kong movie I did not like. It was
with
too
Jack Black.
Yeah, it was too long.
It
was like
weird.
3 hours or something like that. There was some cool stuff, but Peter Jackson movies, in my opinion, get way too long. Skull Island, though, looks like awesome.
Yeah, it looks really fucking good. The Bad Kids of Crestville, I'll see that.
I haven't seen that.
It's just these kids that are bad kids, and then it turns out the teachers want to kill them. I can get into really cheesy fucking movies very easily.
I gotta say, like when I first saw the trailer for Collateral Beauty, which also comes out next week.
What's that one?
That's Will Smith.
I won't watch it.
Really?
I won't watch it. It makes me sad.
Oh wow, yeah. It looks. It was one of those movies where I went, I bet you this is cheesy, but I bet you it's the kind of cheesy that I want to go watch alone because I know I'll cry. Like it's a movie where I'm gonna like if I was on the road and the other comic goes, oh, you want to go see that? I'll be like, no, I got some stuff to do today, and then I'll go see it alone and sit up in the corner and cry.
I cried at Moana.
Oh, that's awesome! I heard Moana's great, man.
I cried at Moana when the grandma showed up.
Oh, good for you, buddy.
Oh, dude, have you ever? I wish I had. This is why I'd want an assistant. I'd love to go, hey, pull this clip up and show you this. I went and did. There's a movie that everyone knows. The movie I'm talking about right now. If you're a podcast fan, but there's a movie that I cannot watch or I'll cry. Time Traveler's Wife.
Oh, great.
So I go in and I do Opie's show, Opie Radio. It's me and Sherrod and Opie, and I tell him, I said, yeah, if I watch the end of Time Traveler's Wife, I will start crying. And he's like, now Opie, like, I mean this out of respect, but it's like old school shock jockery,
right? And
he's like, let's get it, let's do it, put it up there, let's see him cry. He didn't realize I was really gonna fucking cry, and I think I made him very uncomfortable. And there's video, it's online, of me sobbing uncontrollably watching the end of the Time Traveler's Wife. But that movie, man, fuck.
Dude, I cried when I read the book, Time Traveler's Wife, and then I cried when I saw the movie.
He really taught himself to jack off in the book?
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
The book, they're two different mediums, so it's always like, oh, it wasn't like anything like the book. Like, okay, fine. The movie did a decent job. The book is awesome. I mean, the book was like really interesting.
Oh, I maybe I should read it.
And I think it was written by, the woman had to have written it like who dated a much older man or something like that. Because my girlfriend's a lot younger than me, and so you're always doing that like, I'll be like, oh, and I do this bit in my act of like, you know, when you date someone a lot younger than you and you tell them a story. Oh, I did this. And they go, oh, yeah, that was when I was 6. And you're like, oh, okay, well, fucking go ask your dad. You know,
I always reference it by, do you remember communism? Like, that's what people go, huh? Like, I whenever you talk to anyone in the audience, you can't, there's just people don't remember what it was like.
No.
How old are you?
I'm 47.
Oh, okay, I'm 44. Yeah, I have a hard time talking to like 20-year-olds because we have done nothing similar.
Right.
Like, we live totally different lives.
Yeah. I got a computer and the internet when I was 25.
Yeah.
I was 25 when I got my first computer and I had AOL.
I was 21.
Yeah.
I was 21 when I got my first computer and I had Prodigy.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and I didn't even understand. I was like, I really couldn't wrap my head around what the internet would do. I was like, so wait, you're telling me I basically can get sporting lines here, like the betting lines. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's it. So we used to just get betting lines and then check, hey, you want to see what the weather's like in Alaska? And you can click it and you're like, oh, it's kind of interesting. And then I remember I don't even know if I even sat in front of it for longer than 5 minutes until I moved to New York. And when I moved to New York in 1997, 98, and that's like 98, 99, that's when I was like, oh, you can get porn off here? And I was like, that's what I'll be doing for the rest of my life. And that was when I got really into using a computer. But I was 26 years old.
Yeah. If you're, you know, under the age of 30, you've probably had access to the internet since you were about 8 or 9.
Oh, my daughters have. Oh, Joey Diaz is calling. I can't answer it.
Coco. He and I had the same manager.
We'll promote his special real quick.
Yeah.
Joey, I'm doing a podcast.
Call me back.
Hey, I watched your special last night. Fucking amazing, Joey.
Thank you, sir. Yours was also.
What were you calling Kaepernick? I was fucking howling, fucking laughing, Joey. Copernic.
I hate that motherfucker. Call me later, but I'll be around.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you later.
Coco.
Joey Diaz's specials on CISO. I don't need to tell you this. Everyone knows this is listening, but if you use the code word Joey, like I did last night, you can get a free trial. Oh, I have a show on CISO too, but I don't know the code word for that.
Joey Diaz, man, he and I had the same manager when we first lived in L.A. 20 years ago.
Really?
And so we met doing all these like showcases together, and you know, he's just like a dude you have like war stories with, you know, like
he's the best.
Coco is.
So wait, where did you start? Did you start stand up in Chicago?
I actually started. I was a freshman at the University of Arizona in Tucson, Arizona. I was 18 years old, and
hold on. Did you start at the Tempe Improv?
No, I started at Laughs in Tucson.
Oh, Tucson. Okay, yeah.
And the first comedy show I ever did was a U.S. college comedy competition. It was sponsored by Doritos and a defunct gum company called Sticklets. And if you go to my YouTube channel, which I barely update, but youtube.com/Graham Elwood, I think, you'll see the very first time I ever did stand-up. The MC was a young comedian by the name of Judd Apatow. And you can see him in 1988 with acid wash jeans and a mullet.
Shut up.
Yeah, he was the MC. And
how fucking crazy.
I did the show in like shorts, you know, like plaid shorts and like flip-flops or something.
I gotta see this. This. And then how soon until you moved to LA?
So I started in college and I was in a sketch group, and then I graduated in 91 and moved back to Chicago, where I'm originally from.
Yeah. And
that's where I started working as a professional. Like that's where I started doing zanies and all the clubs, and that's where I met like Jimmy Pardo and Mike Schmidt and Paul Gilmartin and all those comics.
That's fucking what a generation. Chicago's generational.
Mm-hmm.
There's like chunks.
Yeah,
it's almost like it's almost like a flood dam releasing,
right.
And all of a sudden like it'll build up with talent, and then all of a sudden the comedy is run by Chicago comics.
Yeah,
really interesting.
It was such a scene when I was there in the early. So I graduated college in 91. So in the early 90s, there was like 15 or some full-time comedy clubs in the Chicago area.
I'm trying to find your first time doing stand-up.
So I was waiting tables, but I quit that job in less than a year because you could, within a 6-hour drive of Chicago, you could fill your calendar.
Really?
Oh yeah, dude. Every Milwaukee, Evansville, Indiana, like every little mid-sized town, and then every little bar gig, you could fill your calendar.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was not making crazy money, but I was like in my 20s, had an apartment in Chicago, had like a Toyota Tercel that got, 30 some miles to the gallon.
Trying to find this first time doing stand-up. Is it one of the first videos you put up?
I think so.
God damn, you got a lot of videos. I don't know what you're talking about.
I just don't update it frequently. As I want to start doing it, though. I want to start doing more political stuff on my YouTube channel because
I like my YouTube channel, but I've been putting more stuff on Instagram lately.
Oh, nice. I just haven't been on the road as much because I was doing like 30, 40 weeks a year for a while, and then earbuds took a lot of time, and I was focused on that.
It's so good, man.
Thanks, dude.
What did you guys shoot it with? A 5D?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I love the 5D.
And we got this young camera crew, these young guys that were super hungry, that had enough experience, they knew what they're doing, but like weren't overpriced.
Yeah.
Because I was like, look, guys, if this happens, if the crowdfunding happens, we're going to go on the road. I'm going to put 4 of you in a hotel room. And it's going to be Subway sandwiches are going to be your meal. Like it's not, and they were like, we're in. Because they're all like, it was a step up for all of them. They're like either assistant cameras or an assistant DP, and this would make them full DP, full camera ops and stuff like that. And they were awesome. It was I felt like I was the coach of like a team.
Were they podcast fans themselves?
Some of them were.
Yeah.
And they started to really learn about the podcast community, and we had a tight schedule. I mean, we raised $140,000, which is great. That's not a lot of money to make a film.
No,
it isn't. I mean, it's the most money I was ever in charge of, but it still wasn't a lot. So we had to and I did all the booking because I'm a comic. I know how to book. So I was like, we're flying in here, we're doing these interviews, we're getting a rental car, blah blah blah, and that was really cool. And all the podcasters who just opened up their homes or their studios or whatever to interview. It was the podcast community made that movie. They raised the money on Kickstarter, and
in a weird way, you've been like, this will be like grandiose terms, but you've kind of created the community a tad bit.
Yeah, with the festival, I would say that
festival's. I mean, I remember when you guys first started doing it, I wanted to be a part of it so bad. And then this last year, I think you asked me to do it, and I was like,
"You're on the road, yeah."
But that's been the coolest fucking thing is when you hear one of your favorite podcasts at that festival, and you'd be like, "Oh shit, man! I would love to go to this place. I would love to go to it."
We've been trying to get you in for a couple of years now. It's just you're a road dog, so your dates. Same with Diaz. I've been trying to get him to do it.
Yeah.
But like we'll get you in, and you'll see how when you're there, since you're such a podcast fan.
Oh yeah.
And you have such great following, you're going to see the community.
I love it.
It's the coolest thing.
It's one of the coolest things. One of the hardest things in podcasting is to break new talent to your friends, to your fans.
Mm-hmm.
Like to go, this is someone that I love. I think you should start checking out their shit. And then once it happens, you see it happening. You're like, oh wow, that's really cool. And it's like, but it's same with me. Like going and doing like I did Chris Hardwick's podcast a long time ago. And I don't think it was received well. Like he didn't even like tweet it out that he just released it and was like wasn't like, hey guys, new podcast today. I was like looking for it and it just came out one day, just post like almost like he was like, all right, we put it up. That I did what I said I'd do, and I was like, oh, that would have been cool to get fans from that. But I think that's a different type of fan. Like
it's weird and this is such a thing we wrestle with every year with the festival in terms of programming is what fan bases overlap and what ones don't.
That's an interesting question. So let's see. Who do you think overlaps? I think one of the most interesting podcasts out there right now is My Favorite Murder.
Oh my God, they were great at the festival. We had them in for the first year. It was awesome.
I think they talked about doing the festival. I listened to them talk about doing the festival. That podcast is really fun to listen to. And I've been given Georgia's number, and I want to text her and tell her I like it, how much I like it. But I haven't because I was like, that's where I'm a married man. I don't want to, It's like if I run into her, I'll say something. But that's an interesting. I feel like those fans came from out of nowhere.
Well, they had, if I'm not mistaken, they did several things. First, they just tapped into the fact that like any of those like murder reality TV shows are women, for whatever reason, women love them.
My wife loves them.
Yes. Women love
I
them.
told my wife, I go, you'll love this fucking podcast. My wife just got into podcasting. She just started listening to podcasts.
awesome.
And I'd watch her walk around with her earbuds in, walk around the house, and you'd be like, Leanne, and she'd be like, huh? What? I'm in the middle of something. I'm listening to something. And I'd be like, hey, you listen to a podcast like a fucking nerd. Like, that's not how you're supposed to do it. Like, good God, what the fuck's wrong with you? Walking around the house and not interacting with people? I was like, do it by yourself. You don't listen to podcasts when you're with other people. Like, she would do it, like, we were on a car ride, and she just put her headsets in. And I was like, what? Can we listen to it together? And she was like, well, yeah, but I'm in the middle. I don't want to have to start it over for you. I'm like, the fuck? But yeah, that I think people who listen to WTF probably like Nerdist, there's a genre of podcasts that
Paul F. Tompkins.
Yeah, like that. I don't listen to that one because Paul hates me. But like there's like those are these. There's like I would say Doug Loves Movies fans like those two. Like they like the Paul F. Tompkins.
Well, it's interesting, and a lot of it is like obviously it's guest driven. So I've been on Never Not Funny a lot. So
I've never been on Never Not Funny. Jimmy and I talked about it a few times. We used to live next to each other, near each other, and I'd see him at Ralph's all the time. He's like, we got to get you on. And I was like, definitely. And I'd text back and forth. Never happened. I've never been on Todd's either, Todd Glass's.
Oh, wow.
And Todd and I have talked about it a lot.
Todd's show, I'm on Todd's a lot. Like, I'd love to have you on Comedy Film Nerds. I think there's little, and I don't want to use the wrong word here to make it sound, but there's little like
clicks.
Yeah, clicks is, or just I don't.
It's not with us. It's not with us, but it is also.
But like the Rogan world. I mean, I think it's just different worlds. I don't know that I even use clicks. So like like I've never been on Joe Rogan. I've never been on. This is my first time on this one. I've been on Redman a lot. I know him.
Yeah.
I was on Sam Tripoli's a fair amount.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not that plugged into that world. Part of it is I'm not a Comedy Store comic. I perform at the Hollywood Improv, so I don't get sets at the Comedy Store.
So I wonder if our podcasts are broken up by comedy clubs.
I think it has something to do with it.
It does, because you think about it, like Nerdist Meltdown and UCB are totally different genres. Like I remember,
one of the reasons I've known Todd Glass for so long, I've worked the improvs with him on the road.
Yeah.
Like the Hollywood Improv, the Vegas Improv.
Todd's fans I'd be interested to know who Todd's fans are or who Todd's listeners are, because that podcast is one of my favorite podcasts in the world.
I love it. I do characters on that podcast.
I love that. He had one podcast that it's like, that you have moments where you listen to a podcast and you'll never forget where you were because you laughed so hard.
Yeah.
Like I remember being in a hotel room one time in Denver, and Zach Galifianakis was telling Chris Hardwick that him and his brother has taken mushrooms and gone to the Getty. And Zach said, I thought the sign said, why shouldn't you touch the marble? And I woke up. Like I was like half in and out, and I got up out of bed laughing. I was laughing so hard. But Todd and Rory Scovel might be the funniest fucking human being that's ever walked this planet. Him and Todd did this thing with the Red Fox. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear that?
Yeah.
Where the story is Red Fox came out to stage and it was dun, 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 and he goes, I ain't performing for 6 people, and started walking off, and the band played the music. Dun, 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 dun,
right.
Played it again. They did that over and over again as different characters as Jerry Seinfeld, and I was on a train in Brussels going to Amsterdam, and I was doubled fucking over going, please don't let this ever end.
One of my favorite episodes to ever have been a part of was the episode I was on with Todd Glass where we played the Lumineer song Ho Hey. I've been trying to do it right. Where he got a clip. They did it on Jimmy Fallon with chickens clucking. Blah, 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 blah. So Todd kept playing it on this episode, and then towards the end, he just let it play for a half an hour. And everyone in his studio just clucked along with it. It was such a surreal, amazing moment. Where else could you do that?
He took podcasting. I think he forwarded the art of podcasting more than any one individual.
Because when he, you know, he was doing that show with Jimmy Dore, comedy and everything else, which was cool, and they were kind of a good pairing. And when Todd started his own thing, the first time I did it, I went, "Oh, this is the purest form of Todd Glass." That's what
It is.
It was like he's got a bubble machine and lights on an audio podcast.
Yeah.
He's all about the lighting and the mood.
And everything is he's painted imagery of something that I don't know if it's real or not, in like almost like a Phil Hendry kind of way,
right.
Like saying, I really don't know if he did the show above an exotic car museum. Like I didn't know, and like, oh, the kid across the hall with the fucking music and the saxophone, and you'd be like, wait, like the first time it happened, I went, are you fucking? Wait, hold on, are you like? It was like real theater of the mind.
Oh, it's.
I told him. I ended up doing it as a gag, but I said, you know what you should do, Todd? Do a podcast, do a live show, but do it in the dark. Cut the house lights off and do it in the dark, because that's how we listen to your podcast. It's theater of the mind.
Right.
Do it in the dark. And then Todd was like, I think that I have a hard time serving drinks. I was like, yeah. Okay, so wait, let's go. Hold on. I could do this. I could do this all day. One of the greatest podcasts ever out there, was Comedy and Everything Else with Jimmy
Dore and
Jimmy
Todd
Dore
Glass.
when he interviewed Kyle Cease.
Oh man, it was like, and they held him like that was intense,
Dude.
It was
that was like that should have gotten the Grammy,
right?
Or whatever, the Emmy, because I was on a car ride from Sacramento driving down, and it was a two-parter because I think he came back the next week, and I had gotten both of them. I'd run into someone, they go, whoa, you haven't heard the Kyle Cease podcast? And I was like, no, motherfucker, that was an amazing podcast.
Yeah,
that was an amazing podcast.
I mean, like, defend yourself. You're kind of exploiting young comedians. Defend it. And it was like it was almost like good journalism. You know what I mean? Because it was like, that's a thing that if you're not in the comedy community, you might not know. And a lot of us feel like, I mean, I definitely feel like the comedy class thing is kind of nonsense. You got to just go on stage and do it.
Yeah. I understand that there's some people that need that class structure to help.
Sure.
Like to get their foot in the door. Oh, now that's how I can get on stage. Well, I get it, but I would never recommend to take a class.
No.
Just write some jokes, get on stage.
If you don't have the balls to just write jokes and get on stage, then you shouldn't be a comedian.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Like,
there was that period where Kyle was doing that and putting it, I think it was MySpace was around.
Yeah.
I remember Tom Segura was at my house having dinner, and he walked in, and he walked right over to my computer, and he's like, tell me you haven't seen this yet. And I go, what? And he goes, Kyle Cease? And I went, no. And he went, you're going to love this. And then clicked the fucking trailer at the class, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And he's like, this only gets better. Have you not read this letter from Doug Stanhope? And I was like, no. And he goes, oh, you're going to have he goes, I think I should probably just go home now. And I was like, oh my fucking God. That was like, God damn it.
You think about that, like, I hosted a bunch of game shows. I could have made a killing teaching hosting classes. How to read teleprompter, how to bump out to commercial. I could have, like, how to
sell a show. One of the things that they don't ever tell you, but it really helps sell a show, is you have one moment where you get up off the couch, you're like, hot damn it! That goes in a trailer, and it's like a little buzz moment.
Yeah.
You're right. You could teach a class about hosting.
I could have made a killing, but I would have hated myself.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're taking money from people that are just going to fail.
Yeah.
Real people host, just go out and host.
Right.
Like
and so it was like, yeah.
Oh, I want to do it. Now you just made me think of an idea. I want to do a documentary on me about, you know how like people go, you do a documentary about a comic, but do a documentary about a host who just can't stop hosting. And I'm like going into Starbucks, and I'm like, welcome to Star. Like everything is a host read. With a choice of 3 drip coffees. Thank you. I'm Bert Kreischer. I think I'll take just can't get out of his fucking way hosting. I've been taking general meetings with networks this past month, and I think I am not selling myself as a host, because I go, I don't do fucking reads. I go, hosting's changed. You look at the internet.
Yeah.
It's what blows me away so much is like all these kids pretended they wanted to do something different on the internet and YouTube. They're just doing exactly what television shows were doing with these fake prank shows and fake prank fake social experiments and so many shit. Casey Neistat I love Casey Neistat. He's one of my favorite guys to watch. Bummed that his vlog went away, but it was like such a ego-driven fucking jack-off fest where you're like, good God, Casey, like go back to showing me how to organize an office. But like, but yeah, that's why I love podcasting, because I don't like I get pissed off when someone gets into podcasting and they don't understand the medium yet
or respect it.
Yeah. And
like we've dealt with this at the festival sometimes. Sometimes it's like a big name celebrity who gets into it, and they're not getting into it for the right reasons. They're not getting into it because it's like, I need this freedom of expression. They're getting into it because
Norm Pattis brought them into it.
Yeah, exactly. Or their manager went, you need to podcast, and they don't understand. They don't respect it. We've had some giant name people at LA Podfest, and they had 14 people in their room.
Yeah.
No one came to their show, and they're technically a bigger star.
Yeah.
But than Jimmy Pardo, but Jimmy Pardo's room is packed.
What do you think about Anna Faris's podcast? Have you listened to it?
I have a little bit, and I think she's doing it the right way.
But why? By cutting everything in half so she gets double the numbers and gets up to the top of the charts? That's what she's doing. I fucking figured it out. If you just say, this one's 30 minutes and there's another one 30 minutes, they're going to download both.
Right.
They want to hear the whole fucking interview, and you get double the downloads, so you're on the top of the charts.
That's smart.
It's cheating. Anna, someone tell Anna this. I love you, Anna. I think you're amazing. She's married to Chris Pine, isn't she?
Yeah.
Oh, I've shit on the whole family today. I think you're fantastic, but put one episode up. I want to know how good you really are. I can't measure myself based on your fucking unqualified fucking standings.
Well, whatever. I mean, I applaud anyone that's finding a way to jump their numbers up.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Me too. What do you think about her podcast, though?
I think it's like, she seems like she's doing it for the right reasons of someone of that like her and her husband don't need ad read money from their podcast, so why do it? She's doing it because she wants to have that expression, she wants to have that outlet, and that I give you respect for, because we all know this from traditional media is very structured. You have to be this, you have to be that. Traditional media, they give you the TV show. They give you the part in the movie. They give you the money for the film, which means they can take it away.
Yeah.
We've all had shows canceled,
Every one I've ever done.
Right, exactly. And I've done over 300 episodes of TV. And nobody, NBC's not canceling LA Podfest.
No one's canceling my podcast.
No one's canceling this. No one's coming here and shutting down the man cave. It ain't fucking happening.
No.
Earbuds, we did festivals, and we look for regular distribution, but we knew
it needs to be on Netflix.
It will be.
Yeah.
It will be. We knew eventually if we don't get a good deal, we don't have to sign a shitty distribution deal. We can sell it on our own website, which we've been doing, and then we did the research. We can get it on iTunes and Amazon and Netflix, and we'll just roll it out like we were a big fucking studio.
Yeah.
And no one is telling us how to do it, or no one is getting in the way or preventing us or whatever. It's our movie, and we're selling it our way, and it's the greatest.
It's aggressive. It's the best feeling. It's one of the things that I connected with probably most in this was that. Adam Carolla, I heard him reference, this is my pirate ship. I get to do with it what I want. And it is being Blackbeard and taking your pirate ship wherever you want to go in the open seas. You make your own fucking rules.
Yeah.
If I want to do these stupid, silly, character-driven reads at the point, I'll do it. If I want to write a song and make fun of Tom Segura, I'll put it on my podcast. If I have a weird interaction from stage, I'll pull it, put it on my podcast. This is my thing. I get to do whatever the fuck I want. And it's like, it's one of the things, like my buddy does the show Hot Ones. Ever seen it? Mm-mm. It's really great. Sean Evans. He's my buddy through the show, obviously, but I'm a big fan of the show. I did it, and then some show in Australia stole his idea. Basically, you eat 10 progressively hotter wings. The last one's fucking, and he asks you questions, and your mouth's on fire as you're trying to answer them.
Right.
So they really catch you off guard. Like, you do end up saying stuff you didn't plan on saying.
Right.
Because he's like, I don't know, man. I talk shit sometimes. And he's like, oh, great. So the show stole it, and I was like, fuck. I'm going to have Sean call in to my podcast and talk about this thievery and I'm posting it today. And we're going to so I grabbed my Eleanor Kerrigan episode. I have Sean call, I post it immediately, and immediately it's taken down. All the fucking sites this other show's taken down. They don't do it anymore. And you're like, fuck yes, rally the goddamn troops.
It's. I mean, look what you can do. You can do. I mean, Mark Maron and Adam Carolla and some of those guys fought the trolling people. They fought them, and they essentially won. I mean, it sounds like it's still sort of in flux, but they basically beat those guys down.
Did you go to the fucking superhero meeting at Adam Carolla's house that night?
No.
Did you hear about it? Red Band went. He told me about it. Basically, it was all the top podcasters in the country at Adam Carolla's house to figure out how they were going to fucking fight this patent troll. It's like Rogan, Maron, Carolla, just fucking everyone.
I heard. Yeah, when Maron talked about it, we interviewed him for the doc, and he said that. Like Hardwick, I think, was there too.
Yeah. And you're like, whoa, shit, man, that's a lot of. What are the top podcasts? I guess it's going to be Carolla.
The top comedy ones.
Oh yeah, I don't listen to any other one.
Because just so you know, the NPR shows are doing millions of downloads an episode.
Yes. However, by the way, coolest moment of podcasting ever, probably. I get an email from a woman who listens to my podcast. Big fan of your podcast. Loved your book. By the way, my husband's got a podcast called This American Life. If you want to, I'd love to hang out this weekend, and maybe we come to one of your shows. Hanging out in the green room in New York with Ira Glass and Anahid, and we're just bullshitting and talking about, like, it was fucking, and we're talking about podcasting, we're talking about numbers, we're talking about, like, advertising. And I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. Those NPR shows are making crazy money.
Yeah, I wonder, those, I mean, This American Life is possibly one of the greatest pieces of entertainment that is ever being published anywhere on a weekly basis.
It's what they're doing, and great. You can say, hey, they brought their NPR, terrestrial radio audience to okay, great. But now they've gotten this whole, and that's another separate world. Like the people that, I think obviously there's some people that listen to comedy podcasts that definitely listen to the NPR ones too, but the NPR world kind of has its own like
Freakonomics type people.
Those shows. It's a different type of a.
That's my wife. The fucking what is the one about the murder? The fucking
Serial.
Serial. That's the one that got my wife.
Those.
So my wife listens to NPR, and they're like, "You should check out Serial." And then she started listening to Serial, and then she was like, "Maron's got a lot of the crossover."
Yeah.
Maron and NPR are the same group. I'd say Carolla. I don't think he shares fans with Joe. I don't think Joe and Carolla have the same fan base. I think they're very different fan bases. I think
Well, Carolla just brought over his radio people, a lot of them, and then he cultivated that because his radio show went off the air, and he just said, okay, come over here and download it. And so he kept a lot of those people that he had sort of been cultivating from like the Man Show, then the radio and everything else like that. And I think, some of the Carolla, it's weird. Like I was just on, his wife and Stephanie Wilder Taylor do that show For Crying Out Loud, which is a parenting show. They're two women that talk about having kids and parents and stuff like that.
Carolla's wife?
Yeah.
She is fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
Dude. Fucking one of the things that makes me more angry than anything. I saw a picture of him and his family for like going out to some Christmas party, and I was like, his wife is fucking gorgeous. Like gorgeous. Like I think I even told him that when I had him on my podcast, and I was like, but I was like, your wife is really pretty. He's like, yeah. He didn't, well, his wife's gorgeous. But you did her podcast?
Yeah, I did her and Stephanie Wilder Taylor just For Crying Out Loud, and they're sort of, it's interesting because they're part of the Carolla network. But then their show is mostly listened to by women, where I would say his fan base is primarily male, But it's so interesting where the fan bases come from, how people find your show, what overlaps, what doesn't. It's really, obviously we got a lot of fans because I was a guest a lot on Doug Loves Movies.
I wonder, I don't think I ever, like I do Doug Loves Movies a lot, and I've probably had a couple of the more, I definitely have one of the most epic Doug Love movies ever, where me and him got in that fight, and it was fucking insane. Thank God he put it behind a paywall, because if he'd gone out to everyone, my Twitter.
When was this? When did this happen?
Oh, you haven't heard about this? Oh, well, maybe I shouldn't say anything. We were in St. Louis, and I came in off a flight, and I was definitely drunk, but I wasn't like drunk out of control, but I was just buzzed.
Right.
And I came in with 200 cheeseburgers, and I was like, I just bought 200 cheeseburgers, or 100 cheeseburgers, 200 cheeseburgers, and I walked in, and I was like, I'm going to bring them on the stage, it'll be my whatever, I don't know, and Doug was like, I don't want you doing it, and I didn't hear him say it at all, and so he brought me out, and I walked out with cheeseburgers, and he goes, I said I didn't want you doing this, and then he brought him in, and then I went back and got him back out, and then it went back and forth, and then I got him again, and he said, walked off stage, and he was like, I'm trying to be fair and balanced about this, because Shane Torres told me, he's like, you were a little out of control. So Doug's like, no, and he just walks off stage, and then I was like, I'm gonna go get him. So I go to the green room, and he's clearly upset, like it's not a joke, and I'm like, okay, I fucked up. He goes back on stage. I'm like, maybe I should just leave. Then I go, or maybe I'll just walk through the showroom with my shirt off. And so I walk through the showroom with my shirt off, and Doug fucking loses it on me, and it's very fucking real.
When did this happen?
This is probably 4 months ago.
Wow.
5 months ago. I've done Doug Loves Movies since, and Doug and I did a podcast on my podcast. We released a podcast the next day in my hotel room of us talking about whether or not we could still be friends. It's one of my more downloaded episodes because it's very real.
Wow.
It's there's no podcast to it. It's just the fucking the surround mic, and it's just me and him going like, it was really fucking intense. It's a really intense episode because we're being very real, and I did not know what was making him upset. I explained to him what I like about Doug Loves Movies, and it's not the gameplay. I like to fuck around in the beginning, and I go, I don't even listen to the game, Doug. Like, I turn it off at the game. And he goes, yeah, but there are people that like the game. And I was like, yeah, I know, but when I'm on the show, like, I like the chaos. And he's like, some people hate the fucking chaos. And I was like, and it's great. But then he goes, I'm going to put it behind a paywall so that he goes, I don't want just people being able to download it anywhere. I mean, by the way, just I'm not saying this to my fans. If you're my fan, don't fucking listen to it. You may hate me, but you would be fascinated by this episode.
Well, I was on the road with a guy for a while, and so I have my own. I've had my own arguments with him on and off stage. Yeah. So part of me might be like, yeah, Bert, go for it. I don't know, like, so yeah.
I'm doing. I don't know when I'm releasing this. I might release this tomorrow, but I'm going to see Doug again very soon and do it again. I like doing Doug Loves Movies.
It's a blast. I don't do it as much as I used to, but so it makes it even more fun now when I do it. Because
I don't like doing it. I like doing it. I like when we do it on the road.
Yeah.
Like when I'm on the road and he's on the road and we meet up. I like those. Those are fun. But yeah, those are like. I don't think I've ever pulled anyone from that group over to my podcast.
It's a specific group, it's interesting. Like, that you want to talk about crossover. This is an interesting thing. So like, I was on the road with him for a long time, and I didn't get as big of a following as I thought I would, because I'm not a stoner. Like, I'm sober. And so the stoners would think I was funny. Yeah. They loved my set. Some of them would even buy my merch.
We did San Francisco together.
Yes, we did San Francisco together. So like when I opened for him as a stand-up and doing Doug Loves Movies, so his audiences were always filled with stoners and film people.
Wait, did we do DC together for Doug Loves Movies one time?
No, we did. We did another city. I can't remember where. It wasn't DC. Maybe it was. I can't remember. We did somewhere together.
You were in Super High Me.
And the High Road.
Yeah, the High Road. Yeah.
But there's a great example. So I co-star with him basically in he's the star and I'm the co-star of the High Road.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, because it's a stoner thing, I'm funny in it. I'm in a giant chunk of that movie. I have 18,000 Twitter followers. You would think all those years of being on the road with Doug, I would have 100,000. Like, I look at like the Rogan guys, all you guys, Ari and Coco.
I mean, that's
Brody.
That's a very interesting statement. what you're saying is really fascinating because there is a massive crossover when you are on Joe's podcast.
Right.
Those guys go immediately and subscribe to your podcast.
It's interesting. So I didn't get those numbers. I think part of it was the stoner. And then when I was on Doug Loves Movies, now Comedy Film Nerds did get a fair amount of his listeners because
that would be right up their alley.
It's perfect crossover.
Yeah.
But like sometimes on Doug Loves Movies, it's sort of adversarial. And now part of that is the performance of it. Like
your podcast should be immediately crossover ability because like I would imagine listening to this podcast that anyone's like, oh shit, I love movies. I want to fucking
right.
This will be really fun hearing two guys break down what the movies they saw that weekend.
Yeah, you would think, but I noticed too with Doug's podcast is the only podcast where every time I do it, just about not every time, but most, I would say 70% of the time, I'll get people that say, "Oh, I love having Graham Elwood on," and I'll always get a couple like, "Fuck you, I hate listening to you."
Yeah,
it's the only podcast where I've heard that. Nowhere else do I hear that. It's a very peculiar thing.
That is really interesting.
I get some people who, when I'm announced, they cheer, they make, when I was on the road with them a lot, they put my name on the name tags. But then there were some people. Part of it is like I would do this whistling thing that made Doug mad, and it would like pierce people's ears, so that would piss people off. But like, and then if I would.
Doug Benson's such an interesting fucking guy.
It was so unique. And then when he started doing the. Yeah, and then part of it is like because I in following sort of watching the Rogan world, Rogan himself is a very like, hey, support this guy, go to his show on the road.
Yeah.
Like Brody told me it helped with his ticket sales and all this stuff. Joe's
got an open door policy with his friends. Like when my special's coming out, Joe's like, of course, dude. One of the coolest, most heartwarming things ever. We do the End of the World podcast, which is probably one of the biggest things I've ever been attached to ever. Mm-hmm. Me, Bill Burr, Stanhope and Rogan, and Fitzsimmons on stage. And the first words out of Joe's mouth when the show starts, "Ladies and gentlemen, The Machine, his hour special airs this Friday on Showtime, November 11th at 10 p.m. Make sure to check it out." The first words out of his mouth. And then we did a podcast the very next day. We did the End of the World podcast. We hung out all night. And he was like, "Let's do another one. We want to support this hour." When I first did his podcast, I remember as we were doing it, my phone would not stop buzzing, and I was getting followers. I got in the car from just doing his podcast, and the live stream went out. In the car, I had 3,000 extra followers when I got to the car. When I got home, and they posted it that night, the next morning I woke up, and I was at 10,000 followers, and I was like, holy shit, like, and it skyrocketed. I mean, I got to 50,000 followers on Twitter right after that.
Yeah. Like, so sort of like part of Doug and I's banter on stage that was funny was there's a lot of ball busting.
Yeah.
But then sometimes that would translate to, here's, he'd be like, time for the plugs. All right, Graham's always got a lot of crap to plug. And it was like,
yeah.
Sometimes I was like, hey, guy that makes 3 times what I make, I need to fucking eat, like.
Hey, guy that makes 3 times what I make.
So that was a thing that was sort of, and then when he started doing the Getting Doug with High on YouTube, that brought in a very different audience, the YouTube audience.
It's so funny because and I've said this out loud a lot, Getting Doug with High is one of my favorite podcasts. It's a great video podcast, but I enjoy it more as a podcast. Like, there have been times in there, because, like, it really is this thing of some people get too high and they don't know what they're fucking saying anymore. And, like, I remember there was one comic, I won't say his name, but he was talking about touring with another comic, and they were like, man, crazy shit must have happened with you guys. He's like, yeah, one time this girl went into, like, back of the bus, and she wanted to sleep with the one guy, but they sent me in and I fucked her. Doug's like, I think that's rape. He's like, no, it's not right. And then I was like, holy shit. I could not stop fucking laughing. I was like, I think you're talking about sexually assaulting somebody. But, like, that's what I loved Getting Doug with High. I would never do it because of the girl, my daughters.
Right.
Well, I wouldn't do it for a long time because of Travel Channel. And now I think, I don't know, maybe I'd do it. But that's an interesting group of podcast listeners. Like they're really like independent, unique users.
They're not Doug Loves Movies fans.
Right.
They're a completely different thing.
Doug Loves Movies fans aren't just stoners. I mean, I think
some of them are, but some of them are movie fans.
Fuck yeah.
They're knowledgeable movie fans, and a lot of them are really into the gameplay.
Oh yeah.
Like they want it played right. They want contestants that are knowledgeable and smart and like get into it. They really, really want that. And I think that was part of it too. So like there would be like this adversarial thing between me and Sam Levine, and Doug played that up and was like #Team Sam or #Team Graham. So then people would be like, "Fuck Elwood," you know.
Yeah.
So it was a very unique thing. Like I still do it every once in a while, and he's like, "Yeah, when Earbuds is ready, come on," and that's cool. But there's no other show like that.
There's nothing. He's carved a very unique path for himself in this
It's genius.
business.
The 420 shows on Saturdays.
420.
And
Now he's got the High Courts coming out. Is his new TV show?
Oh, really?
On Comedy Central.
Oh yeah.
But like he's really carved a unique path for himself that and I've said this to him. I'm sure if I haven't, then I'm doing it definitely now. But the only reason I started doing the Call and Sick to Work shows was because he was doing these 420 shows and they were selling out. And I noticed that they were events. They weren't just like a stand-up show. It was a fucking event.
And dude, the thing that was so smart about it, like I was on the road with him from like 08 through 14 basically. And it was like 2009, 2010, around there, 10, he was like, I'm done doing full weeks at shows, because Super High Me had just come out. So like Thursday night and Sunday night at the clubs would be the Stoners. But then Friday, Saturday, sometimes you just have regular comedy. I remember like a woman like in Grand Rapids came out and complained to the manager that this guy's talking about drugs too much, you know, like, and he was like, I don't want to battle these people that don't know who I am and get offended at pot jokes.
Segura said that. He was like, I'm tired of fucking performing for people who don't know me.
I know.
He's like, you should know me. I don't think he said that in so many words, but he stopped doing weekends and was like, I'm just going to do one-nighters and just have my fans come out. And I told him I thought that was short-sighted, because I said, I think when the benefit to doing the weekend at the club is you get fans. That's how you get people to see you do your thing. And he was like, I don't see that benefit. He was like, I say you get fans by putting out specials and doing a good podcast. Segura and you want to talk about really interesting crossover. We don't have a lot of the same fans the way you'd think we would. Mm-hmm. Like all my fans, everyone that listens to my podcast loves when he's on my podcast. But when he started doing when we started doing the fat shaming contest between the two of us, we were both stunned by how many people did not know we were friends. Like,
wow.
And yeah, and he's probably my closest friend, but people just didn't know. Like, he had a group of podcast listeners that did not know Bert Kreischer.
It's so funny because you can think you have an idea, but like, I don't know how many times I would go either open up for Doug on the road or do Doug Loves Movies, and I'm going to do a show with him in just the end of this month down in San Diego. I guarantee you, we'd go to these cities and people would come up to me and go, wow, I didn't know what you looked like. They'd listened to me on his show a million times.
And they never once thought to like get your special.
Nope.
Or
never Google it, never add me, never follow me. And I'd be like, if you just type in comedian Graham, you're going to probably find, there's not. When I'm with Doug again, you got to get out of here? Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll wrap this up. But like my podcast, okay, the only two things I'm going to ask you left is, I was going to say, do you find podcasting numbers have increased in the last say year?
Hold on, I got to send this text real quick because I'm doing another show. Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. No,
that's okay.
I should have been paying fucking more attention.
It's my fault. I end up getting into these conversations and they keep keep rambling. My podcast numbers have increased astronomically in the last year. Like, and I feel like, and I was talking to Rogan about it, I think more people are coming to the medium and more people are finding podcasts. I also think that the Tom and his fat and Bert is fat war that went on, I think that was ultimately good for me because I think I had a lot of people this weekend going, I didn't even know who you were until I heard Segura making fun of you, and then I'm now a fan, and you're like.
I think it's a good point. I think more people in general. So 5-6 years ago, there was some statistic that something like 70-80% of the population didn't even know what a podcast was. Mm-hmm. I think that number is coming down because you have things like Serial got mainstream media attention. Obama on WTF got mainstream media attention. Yeah. So I think more people even know what it is. Now, taking earbuds to all these film festivals and I did Romania, I did Napa Valley, I did all these festivals. At every screening, there were people who knew nothing about it and just saw a podcast documentary in the program and were like, what is this? How do I get involved? And, I'd always say, pull out your iPhone, you have an app. And they'd be like, no.
So fucking easy.
And they'd be like, no. I'd be like, yeah, you do. It's purple. Press it.
Yeah. Hey, guys, you just signed up for podcasts.
Yeah, there you go. Sign up for Comedy Film Nerds. Subscribe. You got it.
I've done that to so many people. Wait, I don't get this podcast. You go, subscribe. There you go. I just lined you up to 5. Start listening.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah, it'll be on your phone.
Yeah. And I can, when do they premiere? They don't just come out. Fucking idiot.
What channel? There's no, just fucking, it's on your goddamn phone.
Can I get it in my car? Can you hook up your fucking phone to your car? Cause yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, yeah.
Do you listen to music off your phone? Well, of course. Same thing, friend.
Oh, damn it.
So, but no, the thing I've noticed though is, and yes, Comedy Film Nerds numbers have gone up in the last year. I think we've done some stuff like we started buying Twitter followers, not the fake bots, but like the Twitter advertising. Like if you like Kevin Smith, listen to Comedy Film Nerds and stuff like that.
Smart.
We noticed we noticed a fall off a little bit in our numbers like a year or so ago.
Oh, really?
And we're like, what the fuck?
I want to buy followers.
It's you go through Twitter because you don't want to buy fake followers. You want to get engaged fans. So what you do with Twitter is you go in and you say who should like this. So you pick about 10 or 12 accounts. So we like Kevin Smith, Chris Hardwick, AMC movies, you know what I mean? Warner Brothers, like, and so if you follow
Martin Skrillex or whatever his name, Martin Skrilly, what is his name?
Scorsese?
No. It was the guy that bought the AIDS medication and made it $700 a pill.
Subscribe to that guy.
Santa Claus.
It's great. Like a fake Burt Reynolds
Donald
account.
Trump. I'm just going to buy all the wrong ones.
Just to get the worst people.
I'm looking for all the toxic Twitter users.
Yeah, the worst people.
I'm looking for trolls. I just want trolls. All my followers are trolls.
So yeah, you go through that anyway. But like, yeah, and we noticed too, our show, we put the title of it, when we talk about a big movie, we get more listeners. So if we talk, like if because we'll just say episode 325, Captain America or whatever. But if we do like an indie film, it gets less. So yeah, I think it's gone up. I think more people are into it.
Last question, and we'll plug some dates. What episode would you suggest people to go to and listen to as their introductory episode?
I would listen to one of the more. I mean, there's. You know what I would tell the listener? Go to our catalog and find a movie that you really liked. Or something.
Arrival.
Yeah.
I'm going to listen to that one.
Go do that. That's what I would say. Go through our catalog and say, oh, this movie, I want to hear you guys talk about that. Or if there's a guest you really enjoy.
Zootopia?
Yeah.
Ooh, The Reverend. Suicide Squad. I'll listen to that one.
Yeah.
I'm downloading that one. All right. And then where can people watch a movie?
So Earbuds, the podcasting documentary, is currently exclusively available at comedyfilmnerds.com. We sell standard def and high def downloads, and also you can download a bonus features. It's about an hour extra content. DVDs we're pre-selling. Those will be done in the next couple weeks. It's taking us a little longer. And then it'll be on iTunes and all that stuff in a couple of months. But if you want to get it now, and you can see Bert talking mad knowledge about...
one of my favorite lines in that is like, I said something like, oh yeah, I've talked a lot of shit about people.
Oh yeah, and you can't talk shit about anybody anymore. And then you hear Red Band and you go, you hear his laugh. It's fucking... I love that, how that whole came together. You just walked in and we had the camera rolling and you just started talking and it made it into the movie. I fucking love the whole thing.
Paul F. Tompkins and I still won't speak because of that.
That's so
fucking
great.
Guys with Feelings and fucking... How long ago was that fucking podcast? Oh, well, thank you for doing this, man.
Dude.
Congrats on the movie. It's
Thank you.
fucking fantastic. Please send me the password again because I want to watch the end of it.
For sure.
And And I can't wait to listen. I got a flight Wednesday morning, so I'll be listening to which one did I just download?
Arrival. Yeah, comedyfilmnerds.com.
Yeah,
You can get the podcast there. You can get the film. Follow us on Twitter at Comedy Film Nerds. I'm at Graham Elwood. And we'll have you on Comedy Film Nerds.
Please, I want to do something with trailers.
For shit.
Oh, fuck yeah.
This episode was brought to you by The Machine.